Joining us now is Brendan Buck, former aide to House Speakers Paul Ryan and John Boehner, and an MSNBC political analyst. So, look, Democrats, as you saw, Brendan, in their questioning, tried to paint Hegseth as unfit for the post. But here's how Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin responded.
How many senators do you know have got a divorce before cheating on their wives? Did you ask them to step down? No. But it's for show. You guys make sure you make a big show and point out the hypocrisy because a man's made a mistake. And you want to sit there and say that he's not qualified? Give me a joke. I mean, it is so ridiculous that you guys hold yourself as this higher standard and you forget you got a big plank in your eye. We've all made mistakes.
Overall, how do you think the strategy on both sides, which I think was pretty consistent, played out?
Yeah, it was interesting. I was searching for what exactly the Democratic strategy was. I think they know as well as anybody that Joni Ernst is the key here. If Joni Ernst goes south on this nomination, it could spell trouble. If she backs him, I think it's very clear that he'll be the next Secretary of Defense. And they were clearly leaning in on that issue of women in the military. And the sort of problem for Democrats is he just readily conceded he's changed his views on this. He's changed his position. He no longer holds that view. And it made it hard for some of that to stick. Eventually, these hearings, they tend to devolve into a little bit of shirts and skins. And I think that actually works very well to Hegseth's favor. If Democrats are looking as though they are being performative and just trying to score points, frankly, against Donald Trump more than they are against Pete Hegseth, that makes it really easy for them to sort of rally together and come together. I would be very surprised at this point if he is not the next Secretary of Defense. Joni Ernst definitely was not too confrontational with him, and that may be the whole ballgame here. There are still a few people off this committee we need to think about, but he performed extraordinarily well, didn't back down, perhaps other than changing his position on women in the military, didn't back down from a lot of the more confrontational questioning, and I think that's exactly what a lot of Republicans wanted to see today.
Well, were you surprised by Joni Ernst because she didn't challenge him?
Well, it's hard to look at this situation and not remember that Joni Ernst, I hate to say this, is up for re-election in 2026 and has to win a primary. I think Joni Ernst's concerns about women in the military and sexual abuse are very legitimate and real, but we can't pretend that there's not politics going on here as well. And there was an obvious, real campaign to pressure her before. She basically said, I don't want to be in the spotlight anymore. I'm going to support the process to move forward, whatever that means. And I think, once again, she didn't want the spotlight on her. We all know that she's the most important senator here, so she didn't need to make it about herself. We're still all watching very closely what she does. But just sort of reading the room and how it went, my sense is that she's probably going to vote to confirm him, and that might be all he needs.
So if this was, as some people suggested, in fact, a lot of people suggested, a test for Republicans in the Senate and the power of Donald Trump, is it Trump won?
Perhaps. They obviously focused a lot on his alleged personal failings. And I don't want to be cute with this, but if you're concerned about that, you probably weren't supporting Donald Trump in the first place, who obviously has had a number of similar issues, I guess not drinking, but with women as well. So that probably wasn't going to land or last too long. I was struck by the Gary Peters questioning as something that just sort of missed the moment. There was sort of this appeal to the sanctity of the institution. And if we know anything about the politics of this moment, institutions are not exactly what people are trying to defend. Sure, people like the military, but the bureaucracy of the DOD is not anything that anybody is really looking to uphold. And Hegseth did, I think, a really impressive job, if you want to call it that, of becoming a champion of the rank and file of the military, and to a remarkable degree, throwing the top brass under the bus in the process. That certainly speaks to the Trump worldview and the anti-elitism that has captured the country. He did it, I think, relatively deftly, and I imagine it would be a relatively popular pick within the rank and file of the DOD at this point. So I think he did cast a very Trump-like approach in the hearing, but in a way that I think was relatively effective and neutralized some of the arguments the Democrats were making.
Brendan Buck, it's always good to see you. Thanks, Brendan. Appreciate it.